You think you know what turns a man on, but think again. The places you're touching might be obvious, but the areas you're ignoring are the ones that truly drive him wild. These aren't just physical spots, they're emotional triggers. And once you understand how to use them, he won't just want you, he'll deeply crave you. Most women focus on the usual spots during intimacy, but men are wired with hidden, powerful areas that, when awakened, spark a desire that's hard to explain. This isn't just about touch, it's about being truly seen, deeply understood, and emotionally lit up. Today we're exploring the 5 sensual zones most women miss but men secretly adore, and once you tap into them, everything between you changes. There's something deep, almost ancient, in a man's nervous system that responds with raw intensity when a woman touches the back of his neck. This isn't only about a soft brush or a warm breath. It's about a deep psychological shift. The neck, especially the nape, is one of the most vulnerable parts of a man's body. Evolution made this area extra sensitive, alert, and protective. It's where animals are most cautious when they feel threatened. And it's the exact place a man unknowingly lets down his guard when he trusts you. When you touch the back of his neck, gently, slowly, with care, you're saying something powerful without words. You're telling him, I see you, I choose you, you're safe here. Many women skip this spot because it doesn't seem traditionally sexual. But that's the secret. What truly turns a man on at his core isn't always obvious or bold. It's what's surprising. What carries emotional weight and taps into his primal instincts. The neck is the border between control and letting go. A strong man, the kind who leads, who commands respect, who walks through life with focus, often holds a lot of tension in that area. It's where he stores his stress, his alertness, his responsibilities. But when you come close and gently trace from his hairline down, or kiss the curve where spine meets skull, you're not just touching skin. You're shifting his emotional wiring. You're showing him he doesn't have to perform or prove anything to you. With you, he can just be. That's powerful softness. You need to know that most men live in a world that rarely gives them space to feel desired without having to earn it. They're taught to chase, to impress, to take action. But when you touch him this way, slow, soft, confident, you flip the script. You show him that he's not just someone who gives, he's someone worthy of receiving. And that awakening, when done without rush and with confidence, sends something electric through him. He may not be able to explain it, but it stays with him. This area can also create deep emotional associations if you touch it often during close moments. After a hard day, during a quiet hug, or even during small gestures in public. Over time, his body begins to link your touch there with calmness, love, and emotional closeness. You become more than his partner. You become a place of peace. And the more he'll open up, not just in intimacy, but in his daily life. He'll connect your presence with a feeling of ease, a kind of calm he doesn't get anywhere else. But the key is in how you touch. Don't be unsure or timid. Don't treat this area like it's nothing. Go in with care and purpose. Use your nails gently. Move your fingertips in light circles. Let your breath warm the skin. Whisper to him as your hands rest there. Give him shivers, not just through touch, but through your total attention. That's what he's longing for. A woman who knows how to lead sometimes, who can bring him into his body and help him feel alive. That is real erotic energy. And it's not always about what happens during sex or even foreplay. Some of the most powerful moments happen between those times. Like when you reach for the back of his neck while he's cooking, when you move his hair aside while he's working, when you pull him close and your hands find that spot without asking. These are the touches that build desire slowly. They create tension. And even if he doesn't say it out loud, he notices, he reacts to it. These quiet gestures are like suggestions planted deep in his mind. They stir something he may not even be aware of, and they build a craving that grows until you're alone, together. Touch becomes even more magnetic when you bring emotional awareness into it. Don't just go through the motions. Really tune in. Listen to his breath. Watch how he moves closer. Pay attention to his reactions. Every man is unique, but they all want to feel known, and this spot, the nape of his neck, is like a secret switch, not because it's forbidden, but because so few women ever really explore it. Once you claim that space with presence and care, you give him something he didn't even know he needed. You don't need to be intense, you don't need to overthink it. The magic is in your focus. Think of his body like a landscape. The nape of his neck is where you pause, where you spark something deep. It's where you show him that being a man doesn't mean shutting off. It means feeling everything fully. When you engage this place with both fun and care, you don't just turn him on. You change what intimacy means to him. That's the part most women miss, not because they don't want it, but because they've been taught that men only respond to obvious moves. But the man who's grounded, who leads, who gives, he's often starving for someone who slows down, who notices, who seduces with her attention. Touch the back of his neck with wonder, with love, and with quiet fire, and you'll see how he softens, how he melts, how he gives himself to you in ways he never has before. Now, let's talk about another secret spot, the inner wrists. This one's easy to overlook, but it's packed with power. We don't usually think of a man's wrists as sexy, but that's what makes them so special. They're full of nerve endings, super sensitive, always out in the open but rarely touched with purpose. And they mean something deeper: trust, softness, and being known. A man's hands are his tools. They build, protect, work, fight. But when you move beyond the tough outer layer and touch the inside, you speak to a part of him that's been ignored, even by himself. This kind of touch goes beyond the body. It whispers something like, "You don't have to be strong right now. You don't have to fix or prove anything. Just be." And because most women never even think to touch his wrist, your gesture becomes unforgettable. When you take his hand and run your fingers over the soft inside, right above the pulse, you're not just touching him, you're connecting with his heartbeat, with his life force. That connection isn't small, it's primal. It pulls him in. Picture this. You reach for his hand, not because you need him, but because you're grounded. You start tracing circles with your thumb, slowly. No rush, no words. In that silence, something real begins to grow. Something deeper than flirting or teasing. A connection that says, "I see who you really are." That's what this spot holds. The moment where action ends and surrender begins. Where he stops leading and lets your energy guide him. And men, especially those who always lead, deeply desire this, even if they don't say it. Erotically, this becomes a secret code. Once he's used to your touch there, it becomes a trigger, something you can activate any time, even in public. Imagine brushing your lips against his wrist when he's not expecting it, or holding his hands, turning them palm up and slowly kissing that soft spot below his thumb. That's not just affection. That's desire mixed with deep awareness. He starts linking your presence not with demands, but with real presence. And that's when true passion takes root. This isn't about being overly gentle or passive. It's about using your femininity like power. When you choose to touch a place no one else does, you're telling him you're not just useful, you're beautiful. And beauty in a man is something he rarely hears. Men want to be seen beyond their roles as providers or protectors. They want to feel like they're chosen, not for what they do, but for who they are. And this spot, his inner wrist, is a way to tell him that, clearly and without words. There's something calming about it too. When a woman gives attention to this area, it slows everything down. It breaks the usual pattern of male arousal that's often filled with pressure. It brings both of you into the moment, into breath, into connection. The need to feel enough to please, to stay, to perform. Your touch here tells him, you don't have to hurry. I want you with me. That kind of presence is deeply erotic. It doesn't chase the end, it builds something deeper. And strangely, it's that emotional closeness that often brings the most powerful physical reactions. Because a man who feels safe emotionally is the one who gives everything to the moment. Let's talk about your role in this. When you reach for his wrists, you're not just touching him, you're showing you claim him. It's a graceful way to express your feminine power. You're saying, I see your strength, but I also see your heart, and I want all of you. That's not weakness. That's powerful confidence. Because a woman who slows down, who chooses to be present and mindful like that, she stays in his memory. She becomes the safe place he didn't even know he was searching for and now can't let go of. This same space can be used during strong emotional moments, arguments, disagreements, or times when he pulls away. Reach for his wrist, not to control, but to connect. Hold it softly, and you'll notice his energy change. He might resist a little because it's new to him, but if your touch is calm, gentle, and not demanding, he'll begin to relax. Because deep down, under the pride and toughness, there's a quiet longing to be reached with care, to be touched by someone who doesn't want to fix him, just stay beside him. So touch him there, not always to turn him on, but always to connect. Make it something you return to. Make it part of your rhythm. Show his body that when your hand finds that soft part of his arm, it means love, presence, awareness. Over time, he won't forget it. Even when you're not there, he'll feel your touch in his body. And that memory becomes a soft whisper that keeps calling him back to you. There's a place on a man's body that most people forget about, yet it holds a surprising kind of fire when touched with purpose. The back of his knees. At first it might sound strange. People usually think of pleasure zones as only the obvious ones, but men are layered beings in body and mind. The body doesn't always follow what we expect. Behind the knees are nerves that are deeply sensitive. It's a place of softness, control, and surprise. And that surprise is what makes it special. Because when a woman finds this spot and touches it with confidence, she doesn't just wake up his body, she stirs his curiosity, his surrender, his awe. And very few things turn a man on more than feeling something unexpected but intense. To gently touch the back of his knees with care is to light up a part of his body he's probably never noticed. This area rarely gets attention during normal affection, which makes it fresh and powerful, but beyond just nerves and touch, there's a deeper meaning in this spot. The back of the knee is where movement begins. It lets him kneel, run, act. In some old traditions, bending the knee showed respect or yielding. So when you go to that place, not as someone beneath him, but as a woman who understands his strength, you gently shift the power. You invite him to feel himself differently. The touch doesn't need to be rough. In fact, soft touch often says more. It shows quiet power. Try lightly running your nails behind his knees when you're close. Let your fingers brush upward when you walk past him. Or simply rest a warm hand there while he's sitting. It sends a signal to his system. He may not be able to explain it, but he'll feel it. And that's what matters. You're planting yourself into his body memory, not just through looks or words, but through... This is where sensuality becomes an art, when you learn the fine points of his desire. and treat it with the same care as an artist with a brush, slowly, with meaning hidden in softness. Know this: men aren't machines. They don't just react to obvious touches, they respond when they feel understood. When you take time to explore him, especially in places he never expected to bring him pleasure, you show him that you're here for more than surface level connection. You're here to explore everything, and that kind of deep attention builds strong trust. Touching the backs of his knees with your lips, breath, or fingers becomes a moment when his body says yes before his brain understands. It cuts through control, it reaches his deeper self. This becomes especially powerful in intimate moments when he's fully focused on you. A gentle stroke during a kiss, a warm breath on the skin, a little shift that lets you reach that space with purpose. These small things break what he expects and open space for more desire. Because real arousal for a man isn't just physical, it's expansion. It's feeling that this woman sees more, touches more, awakens what others left sleeping. That's the kind of experience he won't forget, not because it's bold, but because it stays with him. And it's not only about what you do, it's the story you tell with your hands, your vibe, your patience. You're saying every part of him deserves attention. Even the places others missed hold something special. And by doing this, you change how he experiences pleasure. You give him space to feel things beyond the usual. That is rare. Most men never get that, but the man who does, he'll think of it every time he bends his leg, every time he feels your echo behind his knees. Even when you're not around, that memory becomes something private and powerful. Picture this: you walk by him in public and your hand brushes the back of his knee. No one notices, but he feels it. It's like you wrote your name on a place only both of you know about. That's not loud intimacy, it's sacred. It creates a bond that lives longer than the moment. It lingers in his nerves. He might not say it, but part of him is always hoping for that touch again. What this is really about is presence. Being the kind of woman who doesn't jump straight to the obvious, who takes her time, who enjoys exploring, who cares more about the journey than the performance. That woman doesn't just turn a man on, she wakes him up. She reaches the parts of him that have been quiet for years and brings them alive, not with pressure, but with soft courage, with knowing what others missed, with giving honor to the hidden places in his body like the backs of his knees, and seeing them not as accidents, but as doors to something deeper. The next time you're close to him, remember that spot. Go there. Not every time, but often enough that he starts to link you with that pulse of feeling enough that his knees literally and emotionally soften around you. Because the goal isn't just to turn him on, it's to root something in him. And when a man feels grounded in you, in body, heart and mind, he's not out searching, he's not comparing, he's coming back again and again because you touch the places no one else dared. There's a special kind of sensual energy in how a man's ears respond to touch. But this zone is sadly one of the most ignored on his body. Not because it lacks power, it's actually packed with nerve endings that lead straight to the pleasure centers in his brain. But because people are stuck on the obvious, his ears often get overlooked, left untouched, or treated like they don't matter. But when a woman knows how to explore this space with gentle confidence, she lights up something deep, both in his body and his mind. It's not just about the ear, it's about what the ear means. It's about hearing, receiving and letting sound in. When you touch this space with intention, you don't just stir his body, you pull him into your presence. The ear, especially the lobe and the part behind it, is a direct doorway to a man's nervous system. A soft word, a warm breath, a tiny brush of your tongue. It doesn't need logic, it goes straight to instinct. It takes so little. A breathy word can send shivers through his spine. A kiss near the ear can melt his thoughts. But it's not just what you do, it's how. And when you do it, you don't rush this space. You don't go hard. You come to it like you're telling a secret, like, a special code just for him. And that kind of confidence, that self-knowing, that's what men are drawn to. His ear is like a speaker. It amplifies whatever you send through it. Your breath, your words, your feelings. So what you feel matters. If you're distracted, he'll know. If you're just putting on a show, he'll feel it. But if you're real and truly there, if you whisper, not just to be sexy, but to connect, you'll wake up parts of him even he forgot were there. You can say his name in a low tone and it will run through him like fire. You can whisper what you want, or just breathe softly and watch his whole body tighten, not from stress, but from excitement. That's the gift of the ear. It doesn't need force. It needs presence. There's also something raw here. The ear is open. It can't be covered or tensed up. When you reach for it, especially when he's not facing you or during a quiet hug, you're stepping into a place he can't protect, and that makes everything feel more real, because in that moment he has to trust you. He has to let his guard down, and that moment of giving in, of receiving without control, builds the strongest kind of closeness. Most men live holding themselves in, always ready, always guarded, but your lips by his ear, your voice soft and slow, it's like a spell. It breaks through the walls and leads him into deeper feeling. And this is about more than just sex. It's about making a mark in his memory. Think about it. We remember voices, the tone someone used when they changed our lives. If you learn to use your voice like a spell, slow, soft, and full of truth, you will stay in his memory. You can say the simplest words, I want you, I see you, you drive me wild. And if you whisper them into his ear with full presence and feeling, he will remember that forever. Not because it was wild, but because it went deeper than words. Now mix sound with touch. Don't just talk. Explore. Let your tongue lightly trace the edge of his ear. Let your fingers slide behind it, touching the skin below his hairline. Use hot and cool. The heat of your breath, then a slow exhale. Nibble softly. Not to take over, but to tease. You're not trying to shock him, you're building something. Slow and strong that begins with a whisper. And what's special about the ear is how close it is to the brain. Everything you do there feels bigger. It's the fastest way to build tension. To let that tension rise until it's almost too much in the best way. Even outside of sexual moments, the ear keeps its magic. A whispered word when he's busy. A fast kiss behind his ear when he walks by. A playful comment you whisper out of nowhere. These are the touches that keep the heat alive. They create a secret world only the two of you speak.